Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm delighted to welcome our audience today to the Global Startup Ecosystem Report 2021 launch and our perspective and panel discussion today in respect to developments in the MENA region. I'm delighted to be joined today by Tala Al-Ansari, Director of the District 2020 and Innovation Ecosystem in Dubai at Expo Dubai. Delighted to have Issam Al-Tukair, the Vice Governor of Muscat for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with us today. And I'm delighted to welcome Amr Mahfouz, the Chief Executive Officer of ITI-DA based in Cairo and representing Egypt. And without further ado, maybe you introduce yourself just very briefly. Tala, do you want to start?
Sure. So I have the privilege of overlooking the legacy of Expo 2020 as the Director of the Innovation Ecosystem and the Global Entrepreneur Program we have called Scale to Dubai.
Thank you, Tala. And Amr, if you would introduce yourself very briefly.
Yeah, so my name is Amr Mahfouz. I am the Chief Executive Officer for the Information Technology Development Agency, ITIDA, which is responsible for developing the IT market in Egypt, as well as the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. And the third pillar we have is the electronic signature. We are the entity responsible for governing and promoting these three pillars in the country. As well, we are the executive arm for the Ministry of Information Technology and Communication.
Great pleasure to have you with a very significant ecosystem that has developed in Egypt, particularly in Cairo. Delighted to have you. Thank you. Issam, if you would introduce yourself very briefly as well.
Yes. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm the Vice Governor for Entrepreneurship in the Small and Medium Enterprise Authority, Muscat. We are responsible about the entrepreneurship and innovation in Saudi Arabia. We have different arms working regarding the funding startups to building hubs to accelerators and all disruptive and future technology.
Thank you, Issam. And looking at the MENA region and our insights from the GSER 2021, it is a success story. It speaks of dynamism, very similar to what we see in many other ecosystems around the world. I think we all got a push from what was this awful pandemic, which has really unleashed entrepreneurial spirit and entrepreneurial forces, including investment. And that's very, very visible in the MENA region. I'm delighted to say that when we look at investment, always a good indicator of value creation, in the MENA region over the last 5 years, late stage funding has almost doubled or has doubled. We see individual ecosystems really jumping the rankings in the GSER, and jumping in rankings is difficult as every ecosystem or most ecosystems tend to grow. So jumping a rank is really something special. Dubai managed to jump 7 spots to number 11 in the top 100 emerging ecosystems. So huge dynamism, that's very obvious. We see a lot of investment into AI and big data. No surprises here. It is the technology that cuts across all the industrial subsectors and brings so much productivity, but it's great to see how it is being adapted across the MENA region. And looking at the top performers first, number one, no surprise, Tel Aviv, which is holding that spot in the region for a long, long time, followed by Dubai and Cairo, Riyadh and Abu Dhabi. And then we have what we call the regional challenges, so the smaller but fast growth ecosystems being Amman on number one, Bahrain, Casablanca, and Sharjah, again in the UAE. Just to give us a very brief overview. But again, as having said, the dynamism is great. We've seen interesting funding rounds, Series A, B, even a number of very significant companies heading for exit. All of that speaks for dynamism and value creation in the ecosystems across the MENA region. That said, I would like to jump right into our discussion. And we've been talking about the global startup revolution for the last 10 years at Startup Genome. And we believe that the data is evidence to that it really came through more than ever in the last year. I mentioned many more ecosystems participating in the value creation that startups and scale-ups do provide. We would love to ask you to share the 1 or 2 exciting and upbeat things that happened over the last 12 to 15 months in your respective ecosystems, for others to learn, to understand what has been happening, to be inspired. And maybe, Amr, we start with you and Egypt, tell us a little bit what happened over the last 12 to 15 months that's noteworthy.
Thank you, Stephen. And maybe, as you said, there has been a lot happening in Egypt over the past 12 to 15 months. And I believe that the government role is to be a catalyst and enabler. And this is what we've been trying to do over the past period. So there has been a number of exciting initiatives that the government has taken to stimulate the overall ecosystem. So we have multiplied the number of innovation hubs in the whole country. Before that, maybe we had 1 or 2 based in Cairo and Alexandria. Now we have about 12. And before the year end, they will reach 17, and they are spread among different governorates. So we want to enable our force and our talents where they are. And we don't want them to come to Cairo or Alexandria to have a better opportunity. So this is, and we are providing them with an end-to-end services, starting from training them, technical training, soft skills training, entrepreneurship training. So this is something that is very exciting. And we have witnessed this year that year to date, we have more than doubled the investments that came to startups in Egypt over the last year. Over the past 3 years, we've been growing about 30% year over year. This year we have doubled. So that explains that there has been some exciting things happening last year that's started to yield. We believe that the big advantage that we have is the skills pool. So we have about 600,000 university graduates each year. 50,000 of them are IT graduates. And we are providing massive training, online training all over the country. Free training. So over the past year, we have trained about 120,000 graduates and experienced people over different skills, including entrepreneurship, freelancing, digital marketing, data science, web development. So that again has yielded. And Egypt does not only have the skills, but our skills are affordable. So a programmer, a junior programmer that has about 2 years of experience in Egypt would cost less than $10,000 a year. Similar skill in Europe is about $40,000 a year. So that gives the magnitude and that explains the increased amount of investment that is coming to Egypt. Also, we are a big country, more than 100 million. The population is more than 100 million. So every initiative that relates to consolidating the market and providing better service will succeed. We have several examples of that. You've seen Swivel that started in Egypt and had maybe a very good idea about integrating the transportation system, and is a very good example that is rolling out to other developing countries. We have Visita, and so we have others that are providing the e-commerce and better business models. And we have also the technology and innovative startups that are providing deep technology innovations in artificial intelligence, in Internet of Things, agriculture, healthcare. So we believe that this is what have been happening. Also, we have developed a 5-year strategy with a major consulting firm that we have finalized, and it's going to determine what we are going to do next from 2021 to 2026, where we have very ambitious plans that maybe we can share.
We'll come to that in a moment. Amr, first of all, I'm delighted to hear that you're investing so much into skills development, making accessible entrepreneurship, tech entrepreneurship to a broad part of the student population. And secondly, also the idea of farming out entrepreneurial success so that it is not only concentrated in a capital city, but a much broader part of the population is actually participating. We've seen that in a number of very successful ecosystems that have taken the step in a capital city, but then have broadened it out, and certainly that is hugely successful. Tala, if I may move over to Dubai, the UAE, interesting, relevant developments you're really proud of, you want to share, please.
Sure. I think in terms of celebrating something, the biggest thing that's worth celebrating in Dubai is the city's resilience. We were actually named the world's most resilient city in 2021 by the UN. And that really reflects our government's agility and the response that they had, especially in challenging times of COVID last year. When we looked at how the entire ecosystem in the city of Dubai could support startups, we looked at how can we first help startups survive and support them in terms of liquidity. And there was a lot of, there was a government guaranteed scheme program and a stimulus package of 1.5 million dirhams to help the startups. And the second element was really around how do we secure talent in such challenging times. And so we came up with multiple visas. So we had a remote work visa, which was very popular. We had people from all over the world based here in Dubai working remotely. We have a citizenship, which we actually granted to investors, scientists, specialists that are focused in STEM, as well as changes actually in kind of like foreign ownership. Now there can be 100% foreign ownership in the mainland in Dubai, not just in the free zones as well. But I think what's also worth mentioning, which you touched on, Stephen, was really the aspect of funding. So Dubai is actually the first when it comes to attracting funding in the entire MENA region. More than $577 million worth has been our share in the VC landscape so far. And we're expecting it to reach 1 billion by the end of this year, which is really exciting. I think Amr also mentioned Swivel, the Egyptian company. So they had relocated their headquarters into Dubai and listed on the NASDAQ market actually, and gained up to $1.5 billion, as a part of that listing. And they're the first Middle East unicorn on NASDAQ for that. So we're quite proud of these stories. The last thing I want to say is our ranking on the World Competitive Index. So the UAE ranked 9th as a result of its great policies when it comes to tax and business legislation. And this is really what's helped us surpass even the US, UK, and Germany on that ranking as well.
It's great to hear, and thank you on behalf of entrepreneurial communities for supporting our startup entrepreneurs. I think we did a lot of studies as COVID hit the ecosystem, starting in the east and going further to the west as the pandemic spread, and we really shouted at every political influencer and relevant minister, politely but strongly, to say this needs securing. You need to support for a brief period of time in order to avoid us losing entrepreneurs. So I'm so glad you supported the entrepreneurs in the UAE and Dubai specifically. Isam, looking at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, relevant developments you're really proud of over the last 12-15 months.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would love to say thank you for everyone, and we have a say on behalf of Saudi Arabia with the great leader of His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman. He has a say that if the economy of Saudi Arabia improved, everyone around Saudi Arabia will improve. So this is the say that we really believe in Saudi Arabia. Small and Medium Enterprises Authority has been established in 2016. The reason of establishing Munshaat is to have 35% from our GDP came from the startups and small businesses. Since what we are proud of, we have seen a huge development across the entrepreneurship ecosystem between the private sector, public sector, local and international, between countries even though. So we are, Saudi Arabia has jumped 30 points in ease of doing business in 2020. And not only this, the government, since the COVID and the pandemic has been done, the affected of startups was huge. So the incentives reached $10 billion within only 1 year, and it's continuous. In Munshaat, we helped more than 5,000 startups to be alive during the pandemic. We help them. We have different programs on building capabilities. We have scale-up programs. Our ultimate goal, not to think only about Saudi Arabia as an ecosystem, but the scalability of the business. We launched an international entrepreneur visa with our government entity, Ministry of Investment. We licensed more than 400 startups, international startups, to come to Saudi Arabia from 45 countries. And they are working now in Saudi Arabia as same as the Saudi startups. Not only this, on World Bank, the World Bank, emphasize on the GIM report, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, Saudi Arabia from 2018, we were ranked 41. On 2019, we were 19. And in 2020, we were number 7. With our colleague, in UAE, with our colleague in Egypt, I think we are working to award the same vision, the same mission. We are working on the similar market, and we contribute with the G20. Saudi Arabia is the country that contributes in G20. We led the subcommittee in entrepreneurship, and we launched a paper that don't compare Middle East, or don't compare Saudi Arabia to China or Europe or USA. We are comparing Middle East to China. We are comparing Middle East to USA, because if you are in Egypt, it's not difficult to access Saudi. If you are in Dubai, it's just 1 hour flight to come to Saudi Arabia. The openness of all kingdom, all government. Believe me, we are very proud, not only in Saudi Arabia, of what's the movement that's happening. We are proud of the movement worldwide, in addition to Middle East and other countries.
Isam, thank you so much, and well put. So what I'm hearing is great dynamism. There's a clear understanding, acceptance, support for entrepreneurship across the MENA region. That's what I'm hearing very clearly from all of you. Very distinct, very substantial investments, support for entrepreneurial communities, and you've really started reaping the benefits. There is dynamism. Our data show that very, very clearly. Impressive. There is investment, significant investment, almost doubled. We mentioned it across the region, actually. And we are looking at really large talent pools as well. I'm glad Isam, Amr, and Tala, you all mentioned it. This idea of a cross collaboration, to see yourself, the region as a market for your companies, not only to start, but to scale. Regional scaling is certainly something they should be looking at very early on. So great to have that perspective from the MENA region. I have to thank you. We are almost out of time. We got such a good look and broad perspective from the three of you. So let me thank you again, Tala, for Dubai and Expo 2020, the innovation. Isam for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Amr to give us the perspective from Cairo and the national perspective from Egypt. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we hope to continue our dialogue in due course.